Motor Week, television's original automotive magazine.
Good evening. In the news tonight, the Vincent's Community Food Pantry will be back in operation soon after being devastated by fire over a week ago. And winter heating bills are still leaving a lot of people cold.
In sports, Indiana and Illinois square off tonight in Big Ten Conference action, and the New York Jets have rated New England's coaching staff for their next head coach.
Newscenter 22 is next. The Vincent's Community Food Pantry has found a new home thanks to a Vincent's realtor and the Knox County United Way. The food pantry was destroyed over a week ago when fire swept through the basement of the Hillcrest building. The pantry's new headquarters is being provided rent-free by realtor Shirley Keel. The location of the new pantry is not being made public for security reasons. Meanwhile, United Way Board President Dwayne Chatton today presented a $5,500 check to Food Pantry Board President Vance Edmondson to purchase food and other necessities. Chatton says the special grant is designed to get the food pantry back up and running as soon as possible.
Well, this was a tragedy, this fire that wiped out the food stocks of the Vincent's Area Food Pantry, and the United Way Board of Directors felt it was important to respond as quickly as we could using emergency funds to help them get back on their feet as soon as they can. They meet a real need in the community. We want to see that service is resumed as quickly as possible.
Pantry Board President Vance Edmondson expects the food pantry will be up and running again in 2 to 3 weeks. A number of food drives are now underway in the community to help restock the pantry. Cash contributions can be made and sent to the food pantry through the Knox County United Way. This winter's heating costs are still budget busters, even though winter weather in the area and many parts of the country hasn't been too cold. State and local agencies are scrambling to help people cope with the first round of bills in what is expected to be an expensive winter. It's been warm of late in Illinois, but the bills landing in people's mailboxes reflect the heat used in early December when Chicago had some of its coldest weather in more than 60 years. One Chicago woman says she got a December natural gas bill of almost $500 for her 3-bedroom bungalow. That's more than double last year. Despite adjusting its forecast due to warmer weather, a federal agency estimates people using natural gas will be paying an average of $1,000 this heating season. The estimate for households using fuel oil is about $1,500. Meanwhile, crude oil prices have jumped past $65 a barrel amid worries over Iran's nuclear intentions and an attack on an oil platform in Nigeria. The price of natural gas and heating oil also rose despite the warmer than normal winter weather in the U.S. The Vincent School Corporation finished the 2005 calendar year in good financial shape. Business manager Daryl Bogue told the school's board last night that the school corporation received nearly all of its property tax settlement from the auditor's office on time. Bogue says the school corporation also earned $138,000 in interest from the investments. However, $108,000 of that amount went to repay outstanding loans the school corporation was forced to take due to delays in property reassessment. Vincent School Superintendent Doug Rose says the feasibility study of the Vincent School Corporation's facilities is now posted on the school corporation's website. Rose says individuals can click on School Improvement Initiative to access the report. It includes an overview of the condition of the school's facilities, plus the cost and tax impact of a proposed $56 million building plan. Vincent's police made 2,848 arrests in 2005. According to the department's annual report, 293 of those arrests were felonies, 187 were drug-related. Police investigated 960 accidents last year, 106 involving injury. The department fielded nearly 13,000 calls in 2005 for an average of 1,072 calls per month. An area lawmaker wants to protect property owners in the event they have to use reasonable force against someone else to protect themselves or someone else from the use of unlawful force. Senator Lindell Hume of Princeton says Senate Bill 51 also states that if a person commits a crime and is injured by the owner of a property or motor vehicle home where the crime occurred while the incident was occurring, the person is barred from recovering damages arising from the property owner's use of force. Knox County is among the Indiana counties turning to retinal scans to identify cattle for 4-H competition. Stacy Johnson of the county's Purdue Extension Office used the scanning device to record images of each animal's eye during the recent weigh-in for the 4-H season. The digital images, which resemble a leafless tree, will be used to identify cattle throughout this year's 4-H season. Each retina has a unique pattern. The scanning device also receives a global positioning signal, and each scan includes a time, date, and location. Previously, nose prints were used for identification, but the inaccuracies in this system have caused variations in print quality. By 2007, retinal scans will be required of all counties by the Indiana State Fair Board. A complicated rule designed to ensure that defendants get speedy trials has resulted in 3 suspects being freed from jail last week. Prosecutors say they are finding it increasingly difficult to meet the 6-month trial deadline set by the Indiana Supreme Court. Washington County Interim Prosecutor Nancy Jacobs says it's the CSI effect. She says expectations from the popular TV show pressure them to get quick results on DNA and blood samples from backlogged laboratories. Governor Daniels says he'll make an announcement 1 week from today on the results of bids to lease the Indiana Toll Road. The deadline for companies to submit a bid is Friday. Daniels says he won't recommend accepting a bid if none of them are satisfactory. Good Samaritan Hospital President and CEO Matthew Bailey has attained fellowship status in the American College Healthcare Executives. He'll be formally recognized for his achievement at the college's 72nd annual convocation on March 26th in Chicago. Organized in 1933, the American College of Healthcare Executives is a professional society dedicated to ensuring competence and leadership among healthcare executives. Still to come on Newscenter 22, the Supreme Court is rejecting the Bush administration's efforts to block Oregon's assisted suicide law. And a hostage standoff in Statesboro, Georgia ended today. Stay with us.
Public is invited to attend Meet Your Legislators on Saturday, January the 28th at 9 a.m. in Davis Hall on the Vincennes University campus. The forum will include information from area legislators, followed by a question and answer session. Viewers can phone in their questions the day of the show to 812-888-5334 or send your email questions to wvut@vinu.edu. Our live broadcast begins at 9 a.m. and the show will be rebroadcast that same day on WVUT at 5 p.m.
The Supreme Court is backing Oregon's assisted suicide law. In a 6-3 vote, justices rejected a Bush administration effort to punish doctors who will help terminally ill patients die. The court says the 1997 Oregon doctor-assisted suicide law trumps federal power to regulate doctors. The Oregon law has been used to end the lives of more than 200 seriously ill people. The court rejected a Bush administration attempt to use a federal drug law to prosecute doctors for prescribing overdoses. Then Attorney General Ashcroft said in 2001 that doctor-assisted suicide isn't a legitimate medical purpose. Oregon's law covers only very sick people. 2 doctors have to agree the patient has 6 months or fewer to live and is of sound mind. An opponent of assisted suicide says today's Supreme Court ruling could lead to what he calls a troubling movement by states to pass their own assisted suicide laws. House Speaker Dennis Hastert is promoting an ethics proposal today that would ban lawmakers for taking all but the smallest gifts from lobbyists. The Illinois Republican says the measure would bar meals and travel. Lawmakers would only be able to accept small items like baseball caps. The move comes as Republican and Democrats each scramble to adopt new rules in the wake of the Jack Abramoff scandal. Abramoff is the former lobbyist who pleaded guilty to lavishing donations, trips, meals, and arena skybox parties on members of Congress who gave him legislative help. The proposal would also increase the length of a time that a former lawmaker or staffer would have to wait before they could lobby Congress from 1 year to 2. House Democrats are expected to announce their ethics reform package tomorrow. The ACLU says a Bush administration program of domestic spying intrudes on the 5 speech and privacy rights promised to Americans under the First and Fourth Amendments. The group has filed a lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of what it calls a secret government program. The ACLU's Associate Legal Director, Ann Beeson, says the program also violates the constitutional principle of separation of powers because it was authorized by President Bush in excess of his executive authority. The ACLU suit was filed in Detroit. Another was filed in New York on behalf of the Center for Constitutional Rights and Individuals. It names President Bush, the head of the National Security Agency, and the heads of the other major security agencies. In a speech to the Liberty Coalition Monday, former Vice President Al Gore slammed the president's use of unauthorized wiretapping, calling it a gross and excessive power grab. Gore served as vice president under the Clinton administration and ran against Bush for the presidency in 2000. He called on Attorney General Alberto Gonzales to appoint a prosecutor to investigate the NSA program and said that the Constitution was at risk.
I'd like to thank Michael. At present, we still have much to learn about the NSA's domestic surveillance. What we do know about this pervasive wiretapping virtually compels the conclusion that the President of the United States has been breaking the law repeatedly and insistently.
In response to Gore's comments, President Bush's spokesman says the Clinton-Gore administration did its own warrantless searches. The U.S. still isn't saying just what role it played in an airstrike on Pakistan on Friday that has prompted an anti-U.S. protest across that country. An al-Qaeda leader is said to have been the target. Pakistani officials say at least 4 foreign terrorists died along with 18 others. The administration says it'll keep going after leaders of the terror group. Violence flares in Iraq as gunmen have killed at least 8 Iraqis in Baghdad and Kirkuk. The deadline include a senior army commander and his brother who were abducted Sunday. The top Iraqi investigator in Saddam Hussein's trial says the chief judge who's resigning probably will be succeeded by his deputy. The trial resumes a week from today. Saddam and several others are accused of killing more than 140 Shiites nearly 25 years ago. A man and woman who surrendered more than 24 hours after allegedly taking an attorney hostage in Georgia have been charged with kidnapping. Police say more charges could be filed later against Robert and Connie Brower. The Georgia State Patrol says the suspects came out of the downtown building in Statesboro where the attorney was being held at around 9:30 this morning. The standoff ended peacefully. The suspects had told authorities they were armed with an explosive device. Police say they found a device of pyrotechnic type. About 2 hours after the siege ended, authorities began detonating items from the trunk of a car that was parked near the scene. There were at least 3 explosions about 5 minutes apart. Former President Gerald Ford, who has pneumonia, is responding to treatment and doing well, and could go home Thursday. Ford was admitted to Eisenhower Medical Center in Rancho Mirage, California on Saturday. His chief of staff, Penny Circle, says decisions on his release are being made on a day-to-day basis. But Ford is improving, and Circle says with no setbacks, he could be discharged Thursday. California's oldest death row inmate called today a good day to die in a final statement that also expressed love for family. Convicted killer Clarence Allen was executed despite protests that his 76 years and physical infirmities made it a cruel act. It's the size of a piano and gets great mileage. NASA will try again tomorrow to launch an unmanned spacecraft on a 9-year journey to Pluto. Scientists hope to learn more about the icy planet and nearby moons. Today's launch was scrubbed due to high winds. Miles O'Brien reports on the latest NASA mission.
Talk about new horizons. This little spacecraft is headed to the edge of the solar system as we know it, to a place we don't know well at all. The goal, to capture the first close-up imagery of Pluto, its moons, and the fringe neighborhood of our solar system known as the Kuiper Belt.
The New Horizons mission is going somewhere where no mission has gone before. This is the frontier of planetary science.
About the size and weight of a baby grand piano, if all goes well, New Horizons will be the fastest spacecraft ever to depart Earth's gravitational grip. It will streak past the moon in nearly 9 hours. It took the Apollo astronauts 4 days, and it will reach Jupiter in just a little over a year. It will then slingshot around that giant planet to pick up speed. From there, it will take 9 more years, traveling more or less a straight line to get to Pluto. All told, a 3 billion-mile journey.
It's the capstone of the initial reconnaissance of the planets, and it's something that will go down in history, not just for the way it changes textbooks, but for the sort of society that we are, that we do these things of lasting historic importance, that we explore beyond our own world.
The Kuiper Belt is a rough neighborhood filled with hundreds of icy, rocky bodies, some bigger than Pluto. Scientists think it is debris left over from the formation of the solar system more than 4 billion years ago. The ingredients of all that we know. Miles O'Brien, CNN, New York.
Yet another reason to get regular exercise, especially if you're older. A new study found that elderly people who exercise 3 or more times a week are 30 to 40% less likely to develop Alzheimer's or other types of dementia. Brokeback Mountain picked up 4 Golden Globes last night, including Best Drama. This puts the gay cowboy love story on a solid trail to the Oscars. Meanwhile, on the TV side of things, ABC's Lost won for Best Drama Series. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Alan Schaefer has the latest weather for the Wabash Valley.
Into WVUT this Tuesday night at 8, Nova's Deadly Ascent follows a team of experts as they seek to determine what causes the deaths of mountain climbers at extreme altitudes. Stay tuned for Frontline at 9. Private Warriors assesses the implications of the presence of thousands of private security guards in Iraq, where they protect U.S. generals and diplomats, not to mention military bases. Independent Lens follows at 10, Tuesday night on WVUT.
Well, Alan, we've experienced a complete 180 in the last couple of days of the weather. Can you tell us what's expected for the rest of the week?
We have. Well, right now we are experiencing an icy mix outside today, and that will turn to snow about 6 p.m. tonight, and the whole thing ending about 12 midnight. We're expecting higher temperatures for later in the week due to a high pressure system that's out in the west. Let's take a look at your current location, or your current forecast. It's currently 31 degrees in Vincennes, with the wind at 19 miles per hour. The humidity is at 91.1%, and the barometer is at 29.60 and rising. As we take a look at some area conditions around the area, we have Bicknell at 32 degrees and snowing, Wheatland's currently at 31 with snow, Lawrenceville, Illinois is at 31 with snow, and Bridgeport, Illinois is also at 31 with snow. As we take a look at our regional temperatures around the area, we are currently 35 in New York City, 77 down in Miami. As we take a look towards the west, we have 37 in Boise, Idaho, and 63 in Los Angeles. As we take a look at the frontal map, we have this low pressure system and cold front that is pushing towards the east, bringing it with it the rain and snow mixture we're experiencing today. As the front pushes towards the east, the air will continue to circulate around the low, making it towards the east side of Indiana with the greatest for snow. As we take a look at our local forecast, tonight, cloudy and snow, low of 26 degrees. Tomorrow, sunny, high of 39. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy and a low of 34. For Thursday, we're supposed to have cloudy conditions with a high of 53 and a low of 47. Friday, we're supposed to get some thunderstorms, 52 degrees and a low of 40. For Saturday, 45 as the high and 29 as the low with cloudy skies. And Amy, that's a look at weather.
Thanks, Alan. Still to come on Newscenter 22, the Hoosiers are in action tonight at the Assembly Hall. Kurt Maddox will have the latest coming up in sports.
Nova, North America's highest peak.
Most people underestimate the cold on this mountain.
Here, climbers confront an invisible killer.
Someone could be near death up there. Not vomiting any blood.
And become the ultimate human guinea pigs.
Inside is a small crystal and a little radio transmitter.
What happens to human bodies subjected to this kind of cold?
The body knows that it can survive without fingers and toes.
Deadly Ascent.
Hoosiers tangle with Illini. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Kurt Maddox. The Indiana Hoosiers will take on the Fighting Illini at home tonight. The Hoosiers are 5-1 at home this season, losing only to top-ranked Duke in November. Seniors Dee Brown and James Augustine have combined to score 110 of Illinois' 187 points in Illinois' 3 Big Ten games so far. Meanwhile, Indiana leads the nation in both field goal shooting and three-point shooting. IU players are connecting on better than 53% from the floor and just under 48% from beyond the arc. Tonight's game tips off at 7 p.m. Third-ranked Connecticut jumped out to a 40-17 lead in an 88-80 triumph last night at Syracuse. Rashad Anderson scored 21 points for the Huskies, who went on a 19-0 run to take an early 23-point advantage. Marcus Williams added 14 points and 11 assists to the win. The Orange ended a 12-game winning streak despite Demetrius Nichols, who pounded in a career-high 28 points. The highest-ranked team in action tonight is number 5 Texas, and the Longhorns are home to Texas Tech. The only other top 10 team in action is number 8 Villanova, and the Wildcats are home to Seton Hall. Evansville Bosse won the Southern Indiana Conference Tournament and took the top spot in 3A in this week's Associated Press Boys High School basketball poll. It's the Bulldogs' first #1 ranking since 1982-83. Former #1 Newcastle lost to Marion and dropped to 4th. Vincennes Lincoln remains 6th in this week's poll. The Alices are 9-2 after picking up a pair of wins over the Mount Vernon and Sullivan over the weekend. In the NBA last night, Vince Carter scored 24 points and Jason Kidd scored 23 to help the New Jersey Nets beat the injury-depleted Indiana Pacers 97-92. Austin Crozier led Indiana with 17 points, and teammates Anthony Johnson and Fred Jones scored 16 apiece. The Pacers were missing Jamal Tinsley and Jermaine O'Neal due to injuries. The Pacers hung with the Nets until the final minutes, at one point cutting a 17-point deficit to 6 early in the third quarter. Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal appeared to end their feud just prior to opening last night's game in Staples Center. The two exchanged handshakes, hugs, and pleasantries before. Bryant scored 12 of his 37 points in 8.5 minutes of the Los Angeles Lakers' 100-92 triumph over Miami. The Heat ended a 4-game winning streak despite Dwayne Wade's 34 points. O'Neal finished with 18 points and 10 boards. Detroit is a league-best 30-5 after Rasheed Wallace scored 18 of his 23 points in the third quarter of a 94-84 triumph over Boston. Chauncey Billups added 13 points and 16 assists to the Pistons' 15th victory in 17 games. Richard Hamilton added 18 points for the Pistons, who have won 15 of 17 games. Paul Pierce scored 21 to lead the Celtics, who have dropped 5 of 6 to fall 9 games under 500. Tony Dungy will take a break from football before he decides his future with the Indianapolis Colts. Dungy says he plans to return as the Colts coach next season, but he still appears to be leaving open the possibility of retirement because of the death last month of his 18-year-old son, James. The New York Jets have a new coach. 34-year-old Eric Mangini has the job, replacing Herman Edwards, who has left to coach in Kansas City. Mangini was the defensive coordinator for New England this season. He has spent 10 of his 11 years in the NFL with Bill Belichick. Norv Turner won't have to pack up his house for his new job. Fired as head coach of the Oakland Raiders at the end of the regular season, Turner has been hired by San Francisco 49ers to be the offensive coordinator. He replaces Mike McCarthy, who left after one season to take over as head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Pitcher Jason Marquis and the St. Louis Cardinals have avoided salary arbitration by agreeing to a one-year, $5.15 million contract. The right-hander was 13-14 last season with a 4.13 ERA. The Chicago White Sox and third baseman Joe Creedy also avoided salary arbitration by hammering out a one-year contract. The pact is worth $2.675 million to Creedy, who hit a career-high 22 home runs last season. The Vincennes University track and field team had 2 NJCAA qualifying performances at their season-opening indoor meet at Rose-Hulman College Saturday in Terre Haute. Cody Arnold won the men's weight throw, while freshman Tafoya Bay posted a 5'2" effort in the high jump. Arnold was second in the shot put. Freshman Lucian Harris won 2 individual events, plus was a member of the Blazers' first place 4x400 relay team. The Blazers and Lady Blazers will compete in Eastern Illinois Invitational Indoor Meet this weekend. The second day of play at the Australian Open is over, and there were no major surprises. Among the winners on the men's side were Roger Federer, Leighton Hewitt, Nikolai Davydenko. Top 5 winners from the women were Kim Clijsters, Amelie Mauresmo, and Mary Pierce. Indy Racing League rookie Marco Andretti has completed his first test session as an IndyCar Series driver. Now the 18-year-old has 2 months to prepare for his debut race at Homestead Miami Speedway, scheduled for March 26th. Marco will join his father Michael to try for a position at the Indianapolis 500 in May. If he qualifies, Marco would make the 5th Andretti to race at the Indy track. And Amy, that's a look at sports.
Thank you, Kurt. Still to come on Newscenter 22, a panel of linguists had decided the word that best reflects 2005 is truthiness. Jeannie Mose checks in with us on the subject on Newscenter 22.
In 1754, a young man named George Washington accidentally started a world war.
Fire!
Others would have to finish it. The war that made America. It's not the war you think it is.
With all the current controversy surrounding author James Frey's disputed memoir, the word truthiness comes to mind. Never heard of it? Don't think it's a word? CNN's Jeannie Mose reports it's not only a word, it's the word.
Truth be told, it seems like it's getting harder to determine.
The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Which brings us to the American Dialect Society's Word of the Year, truthiness.
Truthiness?
Truthiness. I'm going to use it.
The Dialect Society likes to pick a word that best reflects the preoccupations of the year gone by. It took a pompous fake news commentator to popularize this year's winner on his debut show.
Truthiness. Now, I'm sure some of the word police, the wordinistas over at Webster's, are going to say, hey, that's not a word.
It sounds like a very fuzzy political term for not quite true.
The American Dialect Society defines truthiness as the quality of stating facts one wishes to be true rather than facts known to be true. Maybe you'd prefer the term voted 2005's most creative. Whale tail, the appearance of thong underwear above the waistband. The runner-up was muffin top, the bulge of flesh hanging over the top of lowrider jeans. Truthiness is actually a word first noted in 1824, according to Professor Michael Adams.
It's in the Oxford English Dictionary.
Okay, stop right there. I pulled this word right out of where the sun don't shine.
I consider it offensive.
Truthiness, the word?
Yes.
Why?
Any embellishment on the word truth.
is unnecessary.
But when does truth become truthiness? Author James Fry seems to measure truth in pages.
Total page count of disputed events is 18, which is less than 5% of the total book.
Take it from Oscar Wilde, the pure and simple truth is rarely pure and never simple. These days, truthiness seems to be a way to cover your whale tail. Jeannie Moe, CNN, New York.
And that's all for this evening.
This is WVUT.